know why the creation of the Noisy Chair happened? Well, people wanted to share their story, concerns, and being loud. Well, I'm here to listen, have an opinion, and talk to people. That's what this is all about. My name is Dave, aka DJ Dave. Love being part of a new journey with amazing people on my podcast. Super excited to have this guy, a legend DJ, Gene King, in my studio. Gene, I appreciate you coming down on board of the podcast. Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I was looking forward to it too.
we were trying to connect with each other for so long,
Yeah, months, man. Seriously.
It does, obviously with the pandemic and all, what's going on out there, and it's craziness. But now that we've got some sort of light at the end of the tunnel where we can actually go out and have some good time and
exactly,
and dance and that's the main thing,
and play and
right, DJ, exactly,
and work and
yeah, man, yeah, I know, and that's the thing. It's crazy, and hats off to you and all the DJs that stuck around just to continue to play even when this pandemic hit, because it was like a wall just hit.
That was an experience. In itself,
I could only imagine like the, just the sitting around like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
That's
right?
Basically what it was.
Like, it's crazy.
For like 18 months, that's what it was. It was like, is this gonna get back to normal? Am I going to be able to play in front of people again?
Right.
Am I gonna be able to make money
right?
again?
I know.
What would be my alternative kind of thing,
Right.
So, yeah, it was interesting to say the least, and it was actually scary at the beginning. The first couple of months, It was scary because it was like, what exactly is going on?
And what do we do about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one tells us what we can do or not do.
It's something. It's something no one's ever seen before.
Right.
At least in 100 years. So, what can you do? Like, you have to actually figure it out as you go along.
I know.
And that's basically what
that was
everyone's
crazy.
Doing. It was crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of crazy, we have Arcadia here. I'm just kidding. She's not crazy. She's awesome. Arcadia, you're a pure house and great music advocate. Like, you support a lot of DJs. You're great. I'm glad you're here with Gene tonight. So it's good to see you. And don't have a mic on you, but if you yell it loud enough, I'm sure we can all hear it. But
I do it a test.
We're let's see what we're having Wayne Gretzky's salted cream liquor.
This is really cool.
So hey, listen, you know what? We got the good hard stuff afterwards, but we'll see how that goes. Listen, Gene. For those who don't know you, there's a lot of DJs that do know you. You've been in the industry for, oh my God, I don't even know. We're almost the same age, but I think I'm 53.
Yeah, I'm a little older. I'm not gonna say what, but
okay.
I'm a little.
I think we know. But you're 53 and a half. Let's say.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly.
So where did Gene King come from? Where did you start off? Tell us a bit about yourself, man.
Wow. Okay. Well, my love for music started when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't think much of it at the time. Mm-hmm. But I was always interested in what my dad and my mom were listening to. And I actually bought my first record at the age of 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Down on the Corner by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And it was 79 cents.
CCR.
Yep, it was 79 cents at a department store called La Salle in Montreal.
Okay.
And that was in 1969. Okay,
wow.
I just gave my age away.
Okay. For those who understand math, we know how old you are.
Yeah. So that was my first record. I have it to this day.
Wow.
I did some other interviews and stuff. And
right.
I was pulling it out and saying, this is it. This is what
That's
started
awesome,
for me.
Man.
So I used to listen to a lot of. My dad used to be in a band.
Okay.
Originally, my parents were from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They came in the 60s.
Right.
And I was born and raised in Montreal.
Okay.
My dad was in a band. He played guitar in a band.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of the influence of music came from. My mom knew how to play piano, but she wasn't so much into it. But my dad was like really into it.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. And it got to the point where he just had so much music. He was collecting so much music. Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
What was sort of like the genre? What was your choice of genre back then? When
man.
I know you listen to Clear and Screen, like CCR, I mean, which is great, great rock,
Oh yeah, man. That's you can't touch that.
You can't touch that. I mean, I think I have some of, like, I still have lots of vinyl, but ones that I will like just grab and play.
Yep.
Like some nights I'll just play vinyl by myself and just whether my kids enjoy it, whatever, I just play it.
Yep.
We have some people over, we drink, play some music, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
And the old rock.
Yeah. You can't touch that. You really can't touch that. Seriously.
So what was the genre back then?
Wow. So we listened to a lot of everything. My parents, they were from the West Indies, so I got to hear a lot of calypso.
Nice.
I got to hear a lot of rock steady and ska and reggae.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff, and I got to hear a lot of American soul and R&B.
Okay.
I heard a lot of South American music, Latin music. We had everything in the house. My parents even were into country.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's something about the West Indies and their love for country, like.
Well, very diversified. Like they love music, just generally the music,
exactly.
The vibe.
That's
of it,
what
right?
it's about. It's about the music. Period.
Sure.
So I listen to everything, man. I just took in everything. My dad would actually go to parties that his friend would have, and they were in college, and they'd have these like late night parties. He'd go away Saturday night, come back with 5 hours of music that he recorded on his reel-to-reel. Wow. And we'd listen to it like all day Sunday. So that's how I got my education.
Yeah.
I used to listen to a lot of the stuff that my friends in school listened to. Right. There was music 24/7 in the house.
It was.
It was out of control 24/7.
But that's a good out of control though.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
Kind of love that.
Yeah.
My parents were music. They weren't musicians. They just loved music, and they're coming from Italy. They love a lot of the Italian tracks, and I got into listening to a lot of the Italian music and getting just a feel of that style of music, whether it's folk, the old folk stuff, which is really good. And I listen to everything, just like you.
Yeah.
I listen to everything. Like I love going to a bar and listen to a live band.
Oh yeah, that's the ultimate.
Right?
That's actually the ultimate. Yeah.
I love listening to live music. Just someone who can play it, who can sing it, who can, use instruments. And, like I still want to, like I haven't been to the East Coast. I want to go out there. I want to experience the East Coast Celtic, vibe out there.
There
right?
you go. Yeah.
Like everywhere, whether it's reggae, like, going to Jamaica and listening to real, the
live music,
pure live music. You can't beat that.
Yeah,
man,
there's nothing that you can't touch. You can't touch musicality in live music. Imagine someone living and breathing an instrument that they're playing.
Right.
It's a part of them.
Yeah.
I learned at 5. I learned how to play the piano.
Awesome.
And then in high school I started playing the saxophone.
Okay.
And that's around that time, that's when I realized how, when you learn to play an instrument, that instrument becomes that's actually a part of you.
Of course it is.
It's a living, breathing,
It's part of your soul. It's part of
literally,
I love it. Like, I never got to really play an instrument. I really respect people who do. I was more vinyl and turntables and tape cassettes and listening to music. Oh my God. Just back in the day when you used to, listen to music on the radio and you use your tape cassette, and you're press and record. Pause. You press record. And then the DJ comes in and talks, and you're like, "Wow!"
You're like,
"Oh my God!" Right?
And you hit the pause button so that you could do an edit without the.
It's like 30 seconds into the song already.
Yep.
So, I respect the people who love the music, and for you that enjoyed music from such a young age, little Gene, you know. So when you started growing up, you started getting into it more. When did the DJ? When did that happen?
Well, the funny thing about that is, as a toddler and going to elementary school, I mean, I was into the music, but I wasn't consciously thinking that I was into music. I just enjoyed it, and it was a big part of the family life. And I wanted to play hockey. That's what I wanted.
Did you really?
To do. Oh yeah,
a Canadian boy playing hockey. I love that.
I'm a big Montreal Canadiens fan. So
hey, rest in peace, Guy Lafleur, man.
I know. Serious. Well, the same day we lost another Montreal icon, but I'll get into that one later on.
Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, I wanted to play hockey, man. Like I was a big Ken Dryden fan.
Yeah.
I loved Guy Lafleur.
Yeah.
Guy Lapointe, Jacques Lemaire.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Oh my God, all those guys on that line in the 70s,
Yeah.
they were like amazing, and I wanted to be one of them. But you know, I kind of got, actually in the mid 70s, something turned me off of hockey, and it was seeing Barry Ashby in a playoff, New York Rangers and Philadelphia Flyers, 1974. Barry Ashby got a puck in the eye.
Wow.
From Dale Rolfe.
No masks, no visors, nothing back then, man.
No,
you know?
nothing, man. And the way this guy went down, you felt the pain. The way that, I'm thinking about it right now. The way that, and the poor guy, his career was done because he was clinically blind after that.
Oh yeah.
And Dave Schultz beat the hell out of Dale Rolfe the next game.
that is the ultimate back then, where you had the goons, the big guys, and
the Broad Street Bullies of
Philadelphia Flyers, Broad Street Bullies, and but that's the chance you take.
Yeah, it is the chance you take. But that turned me off of hockey, and I started to gravitate towards the music and everything like that. And it was actually my sister's second grade teacher that kind of encouraged me to get into music.
Nice.
And that's a long story in itself, and it had to do a lot with self-esteem and race relations and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And this teacher actually gave me encouragement.
Nice.
To be proud of myself.
Right.
And these are people. These are people. This is your music. These are people, and that kind of thing. So I really gravitated towards that.
Right.
And DJing, that came at around the age of 13.
13. Okay.
Yeah. And it was just about around the time I started hearing DJs mixing on beat. And one guy in particular, Robert Ouimet from Montreal, Canada, he used to have a live to air on CFQR.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, CFQR FM in Montreal. And it was the first time I ever heard beat mixing. This is 1976.
Really?
Yeah. So I'd be like 11 years old. There I gave away my age again. So
it's all good.
So yeah, I'd hear beat mixing for the first time, like actual beat mixing.
Yeah.
Before that, I had heard continuous music, what they called continuous music. And a good example of that is a compilation called Discomania.
Okay.
That was put out by KTEL Records.
KTEL Records,
or no, Jukebox International. That was their competition. Yeah. And they had an hour of continuous music called Gloria Gaynor, Gloria Scott and James Brown and all that, and it was not on beat, but it was continuous music.
Right.
So that alone was fascinating.
Right.
But this guy would mix on beat.
Seamless.
And in those days when you had records where you had real drummers, that was almost impossible. But this guy would actually make these long blends and stuff. Wow. So he was DJing from the limelight, and it was one of those things where, I want to be like this guy when I grow up.
Yeah.
So I really got heavily into the music, and I started DJing, friends' parties and stuff at age 13.
Nice.
And then from there, it just continued. I was still playing music. I was still learning how to play piano.
Right.
I had just picked up the saxophone, and after a while, I started playing in bands around the neighborhood kind of thing. So,
So you're like a local crew.
Yeah. It was something like, I used to travel to the South Shore of Montreal to play in a band by the early 80s, just to play in a band, practice. We practice almost all day, every Saturday, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, for something like that, you got to practice every day.
Right.
and we weren't getting anywhere. So the DJing that I was doing at the same time became kind of a career at that point.
Okay.
And then, it just got out of hand. It just became a career. Right. I was just busy, just
this is all in Montreal though.
Yeah, in Montreal, I was doing like parties and stuff like that. I wasn't really making that much money.
Yeah.
My big break came in 1984, 85.
Okay.
And I started playing at this bar called Puzzles, which used to be on Park Avenue at a hotel called Hotel de Parc, which is not there. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
There was a club. There was a discotheque called Catherine 333. And it had closed down, and it was reopened as a bar called Puzzles. And I used to do all the private parties and everything like that.
Right.
The manager of the hotel used to hire me. So that was my big break.
Yeah.
And I was busy. I was really busy to the point where my dad was like, "Oh, so really? Okay, you're okay. You can get it. You can continue with the DJ thing because he wanted me to do something else,
sure.
Right? West Indian parents, they want you to be doctors and lawyers, right? So he's like, "Oh, there's a big wad of cash you have there. Like, where'd you get that?" Kind of thing, right? So it just continued. It just went on and on and on and on and on. So and the last place that I played was a club on the South Shore called Le Flirt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Le Flirt. Okay.
Yeah, it was actually a big club. They were advertising on the radio, and they had live to ears and stuff like that.
Okay.
And one of my mentors, Michelle,
you can hear my dog in the background.
He's like, "Let me in."
She'll get in. Here
she comes.
She barges right in.
It's all good.
It's all good. So puzzles. So you're doing this, and so basically your parents are like, you know what? Okay, I guess you know what, you can make some money. You can make a living off it, and
you could do something with it.
You do something with it. You know, go for it.
Yep, they were cool. After a while, they were cool with it. Like my dad was really skeptical about it.
Yeah.
So
you know what? I guess it's just like that with all of our parents.
Of course,
it's like, how can you make money playing music? Like DJing. How can you make money not playing music because everybody can be in a band, but being a DJ?
Well, that's the thing. It was actually worse being in a band.
It was worse being in a band.
It was worse being in a band because the whole thing about that is the opportunities. And this is why I got into DJing. I'd be in a band with like 5 guys, 6 guys, and you can never get a booking ever because there's so many bands out there.
Right.
And it is tough in the sense that, well, you're playing music. You got to learn a song. You got to rehearse. You got to do all these things. Right. And yes, it's a part of you, but you got to rehearse. You got to do these things, and you have to be on point. You have to be 1,000%.
Right.
With the DJing, it's the same thing, but you're playing other people's records, so there's a little bit of
almost like not an ease, but like
it's not easy, but
no, but being in a band, like you're singing other people's music.
Yeah, it's very physical, and you have to be on point.
Sure, of course.
And when you put yourself in that situation, and then you're not getting any opportunities, right? But people are calling you to come and play records.
Right.
You go there, right? So this is what happened with me. I just continued to start DJing, and soon after I stopped playing music.
Right. And just DJ.
Yeah, by the mid 80s, that's what it was.
What places where could you get like records in Montreal?
Oh man. Well, there was one main place called Pure Music, and Pure Music, they had a hookup with the radio station CKMF, which was our dance music radio station, and we had this during the 70s, whereas a lot of places in Canada didn't even have that. Or you would you'd have to go to college radio to get that. But this was actually a CRTC commercial radio station that just played dance music, very much like New York City.
Right.
So CKMF 94.3, they played all the releases that came out at Pure Music, and guys like Robert Ouimet, he would actually make charts and inform that station of the new stuff that was coming out. He would even travel. I saw him on Red Bull Academy, and he said that he used to travel to New York City every week to get music.
What a gig.
Yeah, what a gig.
Wow.
You know, and back then, I won't be surprised if the Limelight paid him to do that.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure they'd have to.
yeah, back then you also had record libraries, you
Right?
know?
Yeah, for sure.
The club owners, they gave you the record, they gave you the money to buy records for their library. So basically, if you couldn't make it or whatever, they had the records, right? And then you brought your own personal stuff with it.
Yeah.
So those were the days.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
So CKMF sponsored Pure Music sponsored CKMF. There was another place in St. Leonard on the East End called Disco Library.
Okay.
That was a good record store.
Right.
You had some of the West Indian record stores like Romark Music, Riley's Funky Hut.
Yeah.
Which had all the calypso and soca and stuff, and there's a lot of.
So you can get like all genres.
You can get
In Montreal, you can get everything in Montreal.
Montreal was very much like Toronto, and if we're talking about the mid '70s, it was probably even bigger than Toronto.
Sounded
at the
like
time.
it. Sounded like
it was. Yeah.
I know in Toronto we had to in the '80s, in the '90s we had to travel. I went to Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
To get my records.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, the 12-inch remixes of this and
Yep.
you know, that sort of stuff. So I had to, you know, there was record stores up in here, but we just enjoyed going across the border.
There were things that you couldn't get up here. It was very simple.
Yeah, there was. There
Simply,
was.
There was a lot of stuff you couldn't get up here. So, Montreal, there was a lot of record stores in Montreal.
Yeah.
When you come to think of it, Raleigh. I said Raleigh's Funky at Romark's Music. There's one place I can't remember the name of. Romark. There's a place around the same Victoria Avenue that I can't remember, but that was like a big staple for like all the funk and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was, and you could actually find good dance records in department stores back then. You know, I bought a lot of records at Wilco. My first 12-inch single I bought at Wilco.
Wow.
Yeah. You know,
amazing.
Yeah,
that's cool. I love hearing those stories. You know, I love to see where people would get their records from.
Yeah, $3.99.
You know?
And as a matter of fact, that's where at that age I wasn't going to the import stores like Pure Music, but I'd go to the department stores, or you'd have, of course, record stores, right?
Right.
You go to the mall and you have record stores, and they'd have the hit parade.
Right.
And then you have the 12-inch singles. And
yeah,
there was a record store at every corner in every mall. And you got the music.
Yeah.
You got the music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like, you know, even here locally, you would find a record store in a mall. You know, every mall would have a record store, you know.
Like a Cheapies or...
Yeah, for sure.
Music World.
Yeah, of course, man.
And you got your 12-inch singles there.
Yeah.
Sam the Record Man.
Yeah.
That
You
was
would
a
find
big
them.
one.
You'd find, like, if you search hard enough and you obviously like, holy shit.
You'd get it. Yeah.
You grab that.
Yeah.
You know.
It was just the import stores. They sold a lot of records you couldn't get in those stores.
Right.
So you had to go everywhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. For sure. I know a lot of places like that are not around anymore, but
no, it's
you know, it's tough. But I mean, with the age of digital and you know, producing music such as yourself and having it on in the cloud and on the internet, and it's crazy, right? So
it's things are easily accessible.
It is so easy accessible. So I mean, you're growing up as a DJ. Mm-hmm. You know, you're meeting a lot of people that you probably still keep in touch with today.
Yeah, there's funny enough, there's a lot of people I haven't seen in ages, but there's the odd person I still keep in touch with. Going back to Robert Ouimet, he was like the guy that started it for me, and he passed away.
Yeah, rest in peace, man.
Last Thursday, suddenly, and I was fortunate enough to actually reconnect with him. He was also a guy I bought records from.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, the Gilles Music. That's another record store that was there. Gilles
That's
Music.
all coming back, eh?
Well,
you're not that old, man.
Well, the thing about it is that there were so many in Montreal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, Gilles Music was another place. There was on the South Shore, MG Music.
Yeah.
And that was in the mid 80s. And yeah, Robert used to work at this store. And I would go in and he'd have a stack of records. He says, you're going to like this. You're going to like this. And he was always right? And then I just didn't see him for like a good 25 years after the fact. And then just recently reconnected with him. Yeah. Arcadia met him.
Yeah.
And she was asking me, well, like, how did you get into this? Why are you here?
Yeah.
This is the guy, man. I heard this guy play, and I was totally inspired. And we've been running into each other.
Oh, that's awesome. So he inspired. He's pretty much the inspiration for for a lot of the music that you play today. Like, did he get you into house music?
It wasn't him that got me into house music. No, actually, it was him.
It was him.
Because I started getting into it before I came to Toronto.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say it was just him, but it was like a lot of other DJs. You had guys playing at clubs like Checkers, which was more... When house music came in, it was only being played in the alternative and the new wave clubs.
Gotcha.
And it was being played in the black clubs, playing the R&B.
Okay. Yeah.
And then guys like me would be playing at La Flirte. We'd be playing E.G. Daily and Rick James and
Right.
Madonna.
Yeah,
1986.
yeah.
We'd be playing that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was good stuff. It was
Yeah.
actually good stuff. It was really good danceable stuff. And then you just go to places like Checkers, and it would be very funk and very R&B.
Right.
And then you'd have house mixed in with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you go to a place like La Mansarde or Foufoune Electrique, and it'd be very new wave, very alternative, very industrial.
Right.
But then you'd have house with it too.
Yeah.
So that's what really got me into it, going to all these places. And yes, it would be Robert, because he used to play at clubs like Danceteria in Montreal.
Okay.
He used to do parties like Wiki Wacky Funk Night in Montreal, and he'd mix the house with it.
Really?
Yeah, and it was some music that I didn't like too much at the time. You know, the first record I heard was Marshall Jefferson's Anthem. Mind you, there were records before that,
Right.
like Serious Intention and J.M. Silk's Music is the Key. But the first time somebody told me this is house music, it was like, this is terrible. It sounds like underproduced disco.
Really, eh?
And it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It
Yeah.
was. It was. It was like, it wasn't like in a big studio.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was a Marshall Jefferson's house anthem.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
The same night, I went to check out a DJ contest at a club called L'Arnaque 2. And Michel Simard played the same record that I heard at the record store. And I was totally blown away. I was like, what? This is so raw. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It was like, it's so unpolished. It's so
Right.
raw. It's like ripping through the sound system. I went back. I bought like the whole rack of house the next day. And I was
Nice.
totally hooked. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like late 85.
Yeah.
No, 86. It was
Okay.
actually early 86. Early 86. It was,
Okay.
it was about a year, mid 86, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, where house music started, the house music started coming in more.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
There was stuff before, right? There was a lot of garage stuff from
Right.
New York. And I bought a lot of that. And to me, we used to call it underground funk.
Right.
Because it was all R&B, right?
Right.
Literally like Serious Intention
Yeah.
and Jason Living My Life, all the stuff on Easy Street
Right.
and all that. That was more, we called that funk. We called it like underground funk because it was on these small labels.
Right.
And it was like a little bit underproduced. It wasn't that Colonel Abrams, all that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we called it funk, but the house stuff, it was a little different, and it was a little more electronic,
Okay.
and it was very raw sounding. It was
Yeah.
it wasn't very polished, but it sounded great.
Yeah.
So that's what turned me on to that.
Yeah,
History
for
of
sure.
Love, Fingers, all those records.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, when I heard them on the sound system, it was like, yeah, okay. And then I was totally hooked from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Totally.
awesome.
Yeah, mid 80s, yeah.
Mid 80s, eh?
Yeah.
So you're growing up in Montreal mid 80s. What was the competition like out there?
You know what? It was
Like, I shouldn't say that. Like, you're pretty much still doing parties.
yeah.
Okay. Then you get in the club scene now.
Yeah.
Okay. So now,
So I'm
who's
doing-
promoting you? Who's doing everything for
Well,
you?
it's not. The funny thing is, it wasn't even like that. It was very much like, okay, you hung out with the older guys. You hung out in the booth, and you hung out with the older guys. You went to the club and you made friends, and you hung out with the old guys, right?
Yeah.
You hung out with the guys like Robert Ouimet or Alain Barreau. Though I used to hang out with him, and I would go to his gigs and hang out with him, and he'd go to the bathroom and he's like, "You want to play for the next 20 minutes? I gotta go to the
You're
washroom."
like, oh, yeah, okay.
It's like, okay. And then the managers, they get to know you, right? And then and they're like, hey, yeah, you're pretty good, man. Like
Yeah.
and that's how it happens, right? It's
Right.
like, and then someone gets sick or someone can't make it, and it's like, hey, can you do it? Could you
Yeah.
play for the night?
That's how it starts.
That's
man.
it. Bam. That's it. That's how it goes. That's exactly. And
Yeah.
even to some extent today, it's a lot different now. But that's
It
how
is.
it was. You networked. You made friends.
Right.
You got to learn from the older guys. Michel Kadosh was another guy that I learned from.
Without internet,
Yeah. This
you're,
is
net,
without.
you're networking
Yeah.
based on being there.
You're 19, 20.
Yeah.
You don't even have a car.
Right.
You know, your dad won't let you take one of the cars from because he's like, you're gonna crash it, you're gonna mash it
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
whatever. So you get on the bus, you get on the
Right.
24-hour bus, and you go
Oh, yeah.
downtown, and you know, and you hang out at the club. You know,
Yeah.
you meet people.
Yeah.
You meet the manager, and people were really friendly too, right?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Like totally. So
And you get other clubs that'll say, "Hey, listen to this other club. I need a DJ. Who do you know?"
that's how it worked. That's exactly how it
Right,
worked.
so-
And then as I got older, I got into record pools, and
Okay.
that was it. Once I got into a record pool,
It's like a union for DJs.
that's it.
Yeah.
You know, reference. You always got, you know, it was like there's 15 guys in the pool, and a club owner says, "Hey, do you have anybody? Do you have anybody who's not working, or do
Yeah.
you have anyone like you have anyone who's available?"
yeah.
Bam.
Or plays this, plays that.
Yeah,
type of
exactly.
thing, right? So,
All reference. And it's always from one DJ to another DJ, one manager to. So it wasn't even like you go around and you hand out demos or. Well, I mean, you did that too, but the whole thing was once you got in and you fit in.
right.
And
You work it.
yeah, you work. Yeah, you know, become
Yeah.
and a lot of it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know you made friends and everything like
Yeah.
that, and so that's how I got. That's how I got my big break at Puzzles. It was actually, I think it was through Michel Kadosh. He said, yeah, the hotel is looking for somebody to do private parties, and then I was the guy. I was there for like 2 years.
Nice.
The hotel doesn't even exist anymore. It's now a McGill dorm.
So, it is.
Yeah, it's a
oh,
McGill
wow. Okay.
and it's also a office building, and my investors group broker is there.
Yeah.
And I remember going to his office and saying, you know, I used to DJ here 30 years ago. 35 years ago, I used to DJ in the basement here.
Wow.
And he'd be laughing. He was my age too. He was like,
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you, really?
He didn't come see you.
He's like, well, it's Catherine 33. I'm
Oh,
like, no,
man.
it was the other place, Puzzles. He's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that place.
Oh, my God. I could
So,
imagine.
It's pure jokes. But yeah, that's what you did.
Yeah.
You got in, you fit in, and you know, you became a part of the community, and people got to know you and everything
Right.
like that. And it was always referenced. It was
Right.
like this manager saying, when I started working at La Flirt, 1986. And it was from the same guy, Michel Kadosh. He said, Gene, yeah, like La Flirt's looking for a DJ, and I'm like,
right?
yeah, I'm available.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm available.
Yeah.
And it was a Wednesday night, and that was another thing about Montreal. Clubs were open 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
You know, DJs were working 7 nights. There's some DJs were working 7 nights
Wow.
a week. You work any night. It was a good night, or
Yeah.
decent night, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah. How's your French? I was like, well, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I was working with a live band that night,
Okay.
a band called Stop, and they did French music French hits as well as English hits, and I would play the records in between the intermission,
Right.
and after the show, and before and after the show, and then it got to the point where the manager would be calling me and says, Gene, you know, Andre Lallier, he's leaving. Right? Can you do Friday night? No band.
No band.
Full night
Full night.
at this club, La Flirt. And I'm like, okay. I was there for about a year,
Nice.
and I ended up working the odd Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. Like I got to know the owners, Leo and Michelle.
Okay.
These two guys, they own the club.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where Leo and Michelle, where they were opening the English pub just down the street. So they gave me a Thursday night there.
Nice.
So it was just like that. It was like,
great job,
yeah,
man.
yeah. You get in, and it was like,
My God, that's fucking awesome.
yeah. So I mean, this was great for about a year, and then hell broke loose. Now this is Quebec, and we got that English French thing going
Right.
on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
So everything was cool.
Yeah.
I was good with the staff and everything
Yeah.
like that. But there was one bartender who hated my guts.
Oh yeah.
He just hated me. I can't remember his name. I remember what he looks like, but he just hated me. And he got promoted to manager.
Oh boy.
And my boy Yvon, he left. He said he was going to manage a restaurant. And it was like, damn.
Your days are numbered. You're thinking to yourself.
My days were numbered. So I walk in one night and I see dudes like Robert Holmes talking with the guy. Robert Holmes. Yeah, Robert Holmes, and talking with the guy. And they're looking in the booth, and I'm setting up. I'm like, fuck, something's going down. So
Fuck, what a feeling that.
I know.
Oh my God.
So just before Christmas time, he brings me in, and he's like, yeah, this is gonna be your last night, and blah blah blah, and this and that, and yeah, we need to bring like the old tunes back, and you know, the vibe, and all. I'm like, okay, whatever.
he didn't want you there.
He just didn't want me there, and
Yeah,
I knew
yeah,
it. I knew it, right? And next thing you know, I'm hearing Robert Holmes is the DJ there. And,
Yeah.
And yeah, I was working the Sunday nights too, so.
So you had quite a bit of airtime at that place.
Yeah, I think that probably had a lot to do with it. He probably just didn't like the fact that, you know, at one point I was working there 3 nights a week, and they probably weren't used to that.
Right.
I don't know, but
Or they wanted something different.
or they wanted something different,
break it up
right?
a little bit.
Yeah, break it up a
I mean,
little.
I hear you.
So it was like that. I was like so pissed. Which this is my biggest regret. I was so pissed. I quit at the English pub, Leo, and because I was so pissed. You know, I was like, I quit my Thursday night, and that's what made me move to Toronto.
Yeah.
1987. There was more to it than that. It was a French and English thing.
Yeah.
I won't get into it because there was always a
Like a conflict between the two, or what?
it's a discrimination
Yeah. Okay.
against English speaking people, right? And I have a lot of French friends who are great people.
Yeah.
And they're not about that.
Right.
But there's people over there that are totally about that. And La Flirt wasn't about that, but this guy was about that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what happened. So it made me, I spoke to my dad and said, Dad, I'm going to move to Toronto, man. At least I don't have to worry about speaking French.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I moved to Toronto, and I never regretted it. It was tough in 87 when I moved,
man.
but I never regretted it because I was just starting in Montreal.
Right.
So like Toronto is my home.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, and I think even back then in the 80s and 90s, clubs were still big and strong.
They were huge. I mean,
Right.
if you were in the industry, that's all you needed, right? You had your money, you had your people, that's all you needed. You don't have to deal with the mundane shit outside of that.
Exactly.
Right? And people were excited. They were excited. So and going back to La Flirt, it was a really cool thing because it was like I go to a place like my friend owned a record store, MG Music, and there would be some people living across the street kind of thing. It says, "Oh, are you the guy that you just hired from La Flirt?" It's like, yeah, hey, there's a black DJ at La Flirt. There's a black DJ, you know, it was like a big deal, right? It was like a big thing. There's a black DJ at La Flirt and whatever. And it was kind of cool, but people, no internet, right?
Right. No internet.
People knew, they heard.
Yeah.
The word of mouth, and it just passed around.
Yeah,
so it was fun times, and even, you know, even despite that stuff that happened around Christmas time, 86, you know, it was, I don't regret anything. I don't regret anything. It was great. It was great. So, yeah. So that was my life in Montreal.
Yeah. Oh, so now you're in Toronto.
Yeah.
And you're alone in Toronto.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
With your crates of records.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're trying to find a place to stay.
Yeah.
You know, and you're hustling at different bars and talking to different people that you knew from Montreal to say, hey, listen, you got a spot, or let me come watch you play. You know, I'm gonna be there Friday night. Let's chat. You know.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because It was a last minute decision, and originally I came to Ontario to go to a recording school
Okay.
in Stony Creek.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the institution, but it's a pretty big one in Stony Creek, right?
Okay.
Never made it there, but we'll get to that later. I never made it there. I never made it to that school, but we'll get to that later. But I came in February 21st, 1987, and packed all my records in my dad's Plymouth Fury.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big boat full of
Big
records.
boat.
Yeah, and a suitcase, and I stayed at my aunt's place in Scarborough, right, Alton Towers, and honestly, the first thing I did was I spent like a couple of weeks just looking for a job, a day job. That's what it was. I had a place to stay and whatnot, so it was
make
all
some
good.
money. Just make some money.
Just make some money. Go for a day because I didn't know anything or anybody.
Yeah.
So I get on the subway, and I'm just wandering around Toronto, just for getting the feel of Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And the first subway stop I get out of, I see one of my old friends from Montreal, Jeff.
Wow.
And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I live here." It's like, "Oh shit, I live here too." So it was really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so he was just telling me about stuff and what
Yeah.
just how it is and everything like that, and it was pretty easy to get a day job back then, like really easy. So I mean, the first thing I got was I worked at a electronics store,
Okay.
Atlantic Video and Sound. I'm still like 21,
Right.
it's like whatever. Couldn't get a job. I took what they called electrical technology at Vanier College. Couldn't get a job in that because
What are you learning that? What is that?
it's analyzing things like circuit analysis, analyzing circuits and all that kind of stuff. So
That's fucking boring.
well, it's engineer stuff. It's engineer stuff.
I know, but you're like from music and this and that.
I know, but electronics was, and that's
I'm
actually,
only teasing on that one.
No, I hear you. But that's actually how I got into producing too, right? Because of all of that stuff.
Right.
So which I don't even use, but
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just hard to get into a job at CAE or any of those companies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was just ridiculous. It's like, well, you have to be an engineer,
For
you got to
sure.
go to college and all that. So, anyways, I came down here and ended up working at Atlantic Video and Sound for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Managed a store and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and slowly got back into DJing. In the meantime, I was just going to Carnival Records, and I stumbled upon Carnival Records. I didn't know about Star Sound yet.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm walking up Yonge Street, and there's Star Sound, and I was like, okay, I'm home. I found my record stores, and just buying up my records and everything. I still had some money left over, and just continued building my collection.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the real break really came in Toronto. Really came in the early 90s, late 80s. I was working at a lot of sports bars
Okay.
because that was the only place I could really get into.
Right.
You go to Spectrum and there's guys like Joe Morella.
Right.
And
I know.
they've been there for years.
Yeah.
That's
Full residency there, right?
Yeah,
So-
exactly, right? So I was new to that. So I did what I did in Montreal. I hung out with people.
Okay.
And that's how I got into that. It was like I started doing a lot of private parties and stuff. I got to know people through private parties.
Right.
I was able to do a lot of late night parties too, because a lot of those things were going on, like in the early 90s,
Right.
after the Twilight Zone closed.
Right.
So that's actually where I got, because I was into the house music.
Yeah.
I got my break playing at a lot of these things.
Right.
Promoters, Charles Lewis and Tim Masterson. We had some crazy party with Michael Holtzman and Charles Lewis.
Yeah.
In '93. Thousands of people showed up. It's on Wellington Street, and it was in a basement next to some conveyor belt. And it was actually Jason Palmer's first warehouse party.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
He was like
Oh my
18
God.
years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and we just killed it. The party went till 8 in the morning, and it closed when someone opened up the fire hose in the building.
Or else we kept going.
No,
Probably.
it stopped. Some nutcase opened up the fire hose.
No,
and-
but if it didn't open the fire hose,
that
it
would
would
have
just
gone.
kept
That would
going.
have gone. Yeah, because even the promoters left. Michael Holtzman and Charles Lewis, they left.
Yeah.
My partner from the label, he was promoting the event too.
Yeah.
They all left, and we were just playing there. So that was a crazy party. We called it Groove Movement.
Groove Movement.
And back then you had things like the address was 91 Portland,
Okay.
but that was a decoy address, and you got there, and they told you to go to this place, and it was on Wellington Street.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really got my breakthrough doing a lot of these kind of events,
Sure.
parties, the small parties and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then radio,
And radio
1993, radio.
in Toronto.
Yep, CKLN.
CKLN. Okay.
Yeah, CKLN.
88.1.
Yeah, 88.1. I started DJing for a friend who had a show called Midnight Madness, Kevin KJ Johnson. That's the guy that produced Electronic Funk. He
Okay.
remixed the Electronic Funk by
Right.
M1, the
Okay.
popular one,
Yeah,
with the vocoder and all
Right.
that. So it was his radio show, and he asked me to come down and play, and I ended up staying there for a couple of years, and
That's
that was
awesome.
it. The moment Paul Knight was announcing my name on the radio. That's when clubs started
Right.
calling and saying,
Right.
we're looking for someone to play this kind of music. House music was getting into the clubs. Like,
Right.
yeah, it was house music. This is before the whole R&B thing, right?
Right. Frankie Knuckles. All those. They're all coming in.
So yeah, so at the time I was playing in sports bars, PM Toronto
Yeah.
for a while. The sports cafe on St. Clair.
Okay.
Those were the kind of places that I was playing at,
Wow.
and yeah, it was like I never really stopped. I always found if I could find a gig, I always took it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then CKLN was the next thing, and the next thing people were calling, and that was it.
Yeah.
It got to the
Yeah.
point. It
What
got
a
to
great
the point-
feeling, man.
Yeah, it got to it was
Yeah.
it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where I always tell Arcadia, man, there was a point where I was like playing somewhere 7 nights a week. It was
Nice.
crazy. Sometimes I didn't make money, but sometimes I did.
Right.
And it was insane. Like 7 nights a week. There was a point where I was like playing 7 nights a week.
Wow.
And just wandering the streets of downtown Toronto with a bag of records because I was going to some party and doing a set and
Right.
whatever. It was fun times. But that's what I would consider the big break, the radio,
Right.
CKLN, and then I got my
Nice.
own show in 1996.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah, Vibes and Vinyl from Halloween night 1996 was our first show.
It was, eh?
Yeah, it was late night. It was after Fear. It was right after Fear Edit,
Right.
with Joe Rizla at Trinity.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was our show went late into the night, into the sunset morning kind of thing. It was about an hour and a half to begin with, and then it became 4 hours as the years went by.
Nice.
So yeah, it was CKLN did pretty well for me. It exposed me to a lot of people.
Sure. I mean, CKLN back in that day was huge.
Yeah, a lot of
Huge.
people. We would get people listening outside of the country.
Right?
So, and this is before the internet.
Before the internet.
Yeah.
If you had a good good
reception,
you'll get it.
Yeah,
right?
you get it. Yeah,
Oh my
people
God.
calling in from Buffalo or
Yeah.
whatever. So CKLN was the biggest exposure for me.
Yeah.
And then from that, while that was going on, I was starting to get into production.
Right. So where did the trend where did you think to yourself, I want to start producing music?
Oh man,
You
well, this goes back to Montreal now.
Okay.
I started learning how there were guys like Jelly Bean Benitez,
Right.
and Larry Levan and Arthur Baker, and I didn't even realize, but Robert Ouimet himself, where they were making records. So I was like, you know what, this is what I can do. You know what, I know how to play instruments. This is what I can do, right? I can
Right.
do this. Like when I turn 50, I'm gonna want to retire from DJing, so I could get into production.
Right.
And that's a funny thing in itself too. So I could get into production. So what I would do was rent keyboards. I go to the music store, rent synthesizers, keyboards,
Yeah.
because I realized that people were making records
Right.
with one person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
and especially with the house music, people were making them in their basements. And
Yeah,
stuff
like
that.
layers, and they would just layer the music, right?
Yeah. So I had a reel-to-reel at home. My dad's reel-to-reel, and then
Yeah.
I'd rent a reel-to-reel. And what I would do is I would track drums on one reel, and then take that reel and record a track, drums, and maybe a bass line to the next reel. And then I'd take that reel and track what I recorded to another reel.
Yeah.
To make a recording. Like
Right.
it was a recording. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had all these tracks. I didn't have a studio, so I would just
That'd
bounce
take
back
hours.
and back. It took a long time, yeah.
Oh my God.
But it was like cool. It was like, yeah, man, I'm making stuff I could actually play in
Yeah.
a club, right? So that was my hobby for the longest while.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Toronto, I was dying to do it after a while. I hadn't done it
Right.
for a while. I was just working on getting a job and getting...
Sure.
So this is before the radio station.
Right.
So this is before CKLN. So I was looking at Dave's dance music tip sheet, and there was Dave's dance music, and there was an ad for a studio. There's a guy renting out studio time,
Okay.
and his name was Carlos. So, Funhouse Productions. So I called him, and I spoke to him, and we were cool and everything. Says,
Yeah.
okay, I'd like to book time.
Yeah.
And before I hung up, I said to him, man, you sound really familiar, man. You sound really, really familiar. And he's like, you too, seriously. Like, it's like I know you, right? We didn't even exchange names or anything like that. But he had the name Carlos on the tip sheet.
Right.
I said, are you from Montreal? And he said, yeah. I'm like, okay. Maybe we met before.
Right.
So I go up to his condo, right? He opens the door and he's like, what? And I'm like, what? This is a guy I've known since 5 years old.
Wow.
I grew up in Montreal. Like we went to high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is 1990, 91.
Wow.
And we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You live here? So every time I'm going around in Toronto, I'm meeting people from Montreal. It's like,
Yeah.
what? You live here now?
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to talking, and
Yeah.
you know, I paid for the studio time and everything, and we tried to do one track that me and my sister had created, which I won't go into because it was a horrible track. It's a terrible track. Yeah, it was. No, not the one on the record.
You heard it before?
She heard it before.
Okay, you want some more?
I told her I told her, okay, I'm gonna do this. This is jokes. I came up with a song called, the music was okay.
Yeah.
I came up with a song called Music is the Answer. Yeah, okay, she knows that. Yeah. Music is the answer. And the lyrics were horrible. I cannot write lyrics to save my life. I can't write lyrics
There's
to save
some
my
things
life.
you can do, some things you can't.
Yeah, for me, it's
Okay.
all about sounds, right?
Right.
And even when I listen to music, I don't know what the hell anyone's saying,
Right.
but I hear the vocals.
Right.
And the vocals are like another instrument to me.
Right.
Right. I'll even see colors when I hear
Yeah.
sound. Like honestly,
It's true.
I do see
I know.
colors. Apparently, there's a thing.
People talk about that.
Yeah, there's a thing like
There-
that. I don't know. It's like not an illness, but it's a thing. It's a
No.
mental thing.
It is what they call it. They call it something, and I should have known this because
Synthesia, or something like that.
right something
like
down
that,
that line
yeah.
where you can actually the music you see like if you could associate colors to that.
Yeah,
Right?
That's me. So
That's great.
So I cannot hear lyrics to save my life. I could not write lyrics. So I'm writing this song. Music is the answer. It picks you up when you're feeling down, and it's like, yeah, this is just not gonna work.
Right.
So I recorded that at his studio, and he says, yeah, you know what, you know how to play keys. Your music's good. Whatever. Let's work together.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into the production. I ended up learning at his studio.
Oh, you ended up learning in his studio.
Yeah, I never made Stony Creek.
Right. Oh,
Well,
was that the only area you can go to produce music?
no, it was. I wanted to go to Trebas, and Trebas was in Montreal.
Right.
And I want to get out of Quebec because of the whole language thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I found out that there was a school here. I came to go to the school, but I never made it to the school because I had access to a studio.
Right.
And I ended up making a record.
Hands on. So
exactly.
you made a record.
Yeah, I ended up making a record. So the first one that I worked on was
Arcadia.
91.
Nice.
1991.
Yeah.
Freedom by Carly featuring Lifetime.
Okay.
And it did all right in the UK. It got licensed to Debut Records.
Yep.
Got licensed to a couple of labels in Europe. And that just encouraged me to keep making music. At the time, I didn't even know how to engineer my own records. And Carlos was engineering it for me, so I learned from him.
Right on.
And the third release on that label, a song called Nobody's Business.
Okay.
And that was the very first time that he actually locked me in the studio and made me engineer the record. I spent a whole day arranging a song.
Really?
And I spent a week mixing it. That's how I learned. So I'm grateful for that.
Right.
So that's how I started. This is 1991.
Right.
So
like it seemed that like the 90s was where you're not high, like you peaked, but it's more of like house music was really in it for you. Okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And and basically sometimes you say to yourself, okay, house music, how far can we go in house music? What clubs were there that just strictly played house music? Because then they started to, as the years get older, like in the 94, like 96, 98, 99,
yep.
Those clubs started to close down,
Oh, big time,
because obviously I think the real house music, the classic of the house music,
right? That
stopped for a while. At least for me, it stopped for a while.
Yeah. What happened? What happened was, coming to Toronto in the late 80s.
Right.
You had a place like the Twilight Zone.
Right.
Right. And that's where you heard it. And it wasn't just house music. It was like all kinds of like underground R&B stuff.
Sure.
And they had records two years before everybody else had them, or radio had them.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Azun brothers would be playing all that stuff.
Yep.
And then you go to places like Copa.
Yep.
Where, on Sunday nights you would have, I think it was Barry Harris actually.
Okay.
He would be playing house from like midnight till I think it's like 3 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, 3 a.m. Last call was at 1. Last call was at 1. So, but the party went on after. Spectrum, the same thing. The party went on till 3, 4.
Right.
And then you go to Twilight Zone on the Saturdays. You had Club Z. Where Dave Ahmad was playing on the Fridays, and there was somebody else playing on the Saturdays, and you heard the house there, but it was always a mixture of music. It wasn't just house per se. And then when a lot of the clubs, those older clubs, closed down, you had offsprings of like the late night, the after hours, and that's where you heard like house all night.
Right.
That's some of the younger DJs, like myself and.
Oh yeah, for sure. I get
exactly.
It,
That's when you started getting into the idea of the party was all house all night kind of thing. So like when you had the late night parties and stuff like that. You had guys like Tim Masterson, promoting those nights.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Lewis and those guys.
Yeah.
So it was after the Twilight Zone where you actually got that whole thing of 6-8 hours of just house kind of stuff, right? And a lot of music was coming out, so at the time, and even then you had your odd set of like, well, that's when the disco thing came into play because they would start mixing, Peter and Tyrone and Shams, they would be mixing disco records with the house,
right?
You know what I mean? And,
for sure.
And then we stared doing it, like.
Still to this day,
you mix the record.
Alexia Tipple does it. She does amazing.
I do it too. I'll play the disco records with the house kind of thing, and that's what keeps the music alive. You have to keep it alive, right?
Yeah,
you do.
You have to, man. You have to.
You can play new stuff, fine, but you also got to mix it with the old stuff.
You do.
So that's. I think it was after the zone closed. You had people's different perspective of playing just house music the whole night or house related music,
right?
So that would be the early 90s after those clubs closed. The Paradise Garage in New York, the same thing. You had if the Paradise Garage, you heard all types of music, especially with R&B music and underground music. And when that closed, I'm not from New York, but I guess when that closed, you had offsprings of that where people would capitalize on just the house.
Absolutely.
Because that was the thing. I think that was the one thing that people took away. They were like, this is underground. It's exciting. It's different. It's not polished. It's you can't hear it anywhere else. So
no, it's pretty raw.
Yeah. So that's when it got really big. The early 90s. That's where and guys like me, we got opportunities like crazy.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, people were like, who plays house music?
Yeah.
You know, you got Peter Tyrone and the Shams. You got Dino and Terry. You got Jason Palmer. You got Gene King. You got Kenny Glasgow. You got all these. You got KJ. You got Dave Campbell. You got all these guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing the house because they're coming up from that whole thing. They're coming up from that whole Twilight Zone and underground scene.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, the 90s was the time.
It was a time, and you know, you wanted to keep that genre alive, but also mix it.
Yeah.
Mix it up a little bit, like you said, with a disco bit, you know.
Yeah, and make it evolve, you know, by bringing in a lot of the new music.
Right.
Right.
So you got into so when you got in you know, the DJing the 90s, and you know, now you're thinking to yourself, okay, where did you say to yourself from the 90s to 2000s? Okay. Like, did you plan your strategy, or you just sort of just took it, you know, let's say each weekend at a time, let's say?
You know what? You can plan your strategy, but the thing about planning your strategy is it doesn't always work.
Right.
And chances 99.9% of the time it doesn't, because things just happen.
Oh, things change, obviously,
And things
for sure.
change. So
for sure.
For a while, I took it a week at a time.
Yeah.
But my focus, what I did too is I played a lot of top 40 clubs as well too.
Right.
Right. And that's where my whole thing was. I played house music for a while. It made me a little bit of money, but playing in the top 40 clubs, playing mainstream music, it was actually supporting me.
Well, let me tell you
I
something.
did both at the same time.
Well,
right?
I'm going to tell you, playing the mainstream music made a living for me. It made money because
Same here.
Because now you're getting just a broader spectrum of people that want to hear music
and more opportunities,
right?
Yeah.
So, and that's where all of a sudden now it's like, okay, you know what, the music today. I forget about today's music. The top 40 music back then, you know, like the 80s and 90s of the mainstream, you know, even the 80s, like you know, Psychedelic Furs and, you know, the new wave and alternative. Like I still to this day love playing those type that made me some good money playing in parties.
Sure. Yeah,
you know, because, you know, and that brought to opportunities like weddings. Big corporate events
and all that,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that made money.
Yeah, that was always my thing while I was doing the house thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been my thing. I've always played. I mean, for a couple of years too. I actually worked at Tonic for several years playing hip hop and R&B in the small room.
Wow.
That's 5 hours of hip hop and R&B. And I do it in my sleep.
Yeah,
To this day,
sure.
like this past Friday, I'm doing it in my sleep. I'm playing Red Rats and
yes, man.
it's all good.
Of course.
It's all good. I'm enjoying it, you know.
Yeah.
And that stuff was so much better than the stuff now, anyways.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, I've always done that, and I always like to maintain the whole, I guess, the house. I don't want to say persona, but the identification with the house music, right? I always kept that because it's the music I love the most.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I like DJing. Period.
Yeah, I think it's always in our blood, and knowing you, like I enjoy your style. I enjoy what you play.
Thank you.
You know, and now all of a sudden now you're in the digital world. You're getting your tracks out there. You're getting your music out there. You know, social media is a great free way of expressing yourself, showing off yourself.
For sure.
Right.
And I said this to somebody recently, a friend, online friend, Gordon. I said this. I said this. We were talking about the lack of talent in new music, which, I mean, that's bullshit. It's not true. There's a lot of talent in new music.
Absolutely, for
but
sure.
Now you have an abundance of stuff that's really bad, for the simple reason that now it's easier to get your stuff out.
Sure it is.
Very easy. You could get it out
Very easy.
overnight.
Yeah.
But what's missing now is the quality control. There's no quality control.
Yeah.
So now you have
not even like in the big names of Traxsource, Beatport. There's no quality control.
I remember when I was pressing records, when I did Shine's records, and I was pressing records. You had to get the attention of distributors. There were like 3 major distributors, North America, Unique, Crosstalk's in Chicago. It wasn't a big one, but it was one of the newer ones. Unique, Downtown 161.
Okay.
And those were the people that got your records out around the world. And you had to get their attention. And you had to send them test pressings. You had to send them like cassettes.
Mixtapes.
Whatever. You had to send them MP3 sound bites.
Right.
And if they liked it.
Yeah?
This is the beginning of the digital age. You had to send them. You had to send them this stuff, and if they liked it, they'd buy it. Right now, we don't have that.
Right.
Like I don't think I don't know if the people at Beatport or Traxsource, if they listen to the music. I'm not sure. There's so much music out there.
Yeah,
I don't think they have the time to listen to it. So,
well, they're making money off just selling what artists are producing.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, it's easy to get your stuff out there, but the quality control's not there. Also, the making of money that's finished.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that era.
You can't make you can't make a profit on a $2 download.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
So it comes back to what I was talking about, full circle, and me thinking about in my 50s I'm going to retire and just can stick to producing. I'm now DJing again.
Yeah, for sure, man.
You know what I mean? And that keeps me going.
Keeps it going.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man.
So yeah. The digital era is great, but we've sacrificed making a living for getting out there quickly, and I don't know if it's worth it. I personally don't know if it's worth it. I mean, before that, I had a network. I developed a network, doing the stuff with Contraband Records and Carlos back in the 90s. I knew who to contact to distribute a record, and that was fine.
Right.
It was definitely harder for someone to break in.
Right. Okay.
Because they didn't have that contact or anything.
Right.
Now that same person can break in easily, and that's cool. But now what we've sacrificed is he's not going to be able to make money.
No, and you see it in just how many like tracks there are in certain DJ pools and Beatport and all that sort of stuff. And, and to me is like, you want to keep that reputation of solid producers or DJs putting out a track in those names.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you want to have some type of like you know, fill them up, fill another glass up. No, for Gene. You want more?
I'm good.
You good? Hey, no problem. I get it. We get smashed on a weeknight, but anyways, what I'm trying to say is that we're missing out on, like you said, quality control, especially on big name brands of DJ platforms like Traxsource. Okay, you'd figure that they would have some type of policing where it's like, okay, you know what, this fucking song is garbage, but yet they want to put it up on there because they can make 10% off whoever buys off their stuff, right? So I think that should be I think they should try to clean it up a little bit.
Well, the thing that they have now more than anything is algorithms, to detect if you've plagiarized.
Yeah, if you copied somebody, of course, absolutely.
That's pretty much what they and even that doesn't even work. I remember a track called Norman Manley. The artist was Norman Manley, who was apparently a Jamaican premier, and I can't remember the name of the song. I think it was called Coconuts or something like that. They just put the name of the song, and it was actually a time stretched MP3 of Murder She Wrote by Shaka Demus and Pliers.
No way.
Yeah, and it was up there for
it's
like a
long time. It's a very distinctive sound. Like you'll know.
It's the same.
You'll know Shaka.
It's the same record. It's the whole record, just in house tempo. And I've heard people play it. I mean, it's cool. It's not a bad idea, but they didn't put Shaka Demus and they didn't put Sly and Robbie's name on it or anything like that. So I don't even think it's on Traxsource anymore. I don't think it's. But I mean, like,
kind of cool though.
They
I
can't.
to hear
Yeah,
that.
it was actually pretty cool, right? It was a DJ tool, but they could have called it Shakademus and Pliers.
Give them some credit a bit, you know, like on that, or at least ask them if they can use it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's the only thing. Like, there's algorithms that detect if you've plagiarized something, and that's probably it. But but I mean, time will tell. You know, if no one's buying the record or if no one's playing the record, you know, at some point, you know, some of the producers
will they?
Some of the producers that are kind of like, what's the word?
Well, like one-timers.
Not faking it or just breaking into it without a knowledge of music in general. They'll be gone anyways. Right.
Well, does that happen though? Like if they see the algorithms like where there's no plays or there's no one's looking at it, will they dump that off their list?
Yeah, I think I've seen it where songs have disappeared on Tracksource and whatever.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
When you said algorithms, right?
Yeah, and they want to save room, but I'm not even sure how it works. It's funny because yesterday I came out with a release and.
Talk about that release. Talk about that.
Cyrus Says, a tribute to a movie. Maybe I won't say it because in case somebody from Paramount or one of these companies is
you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, but I mean the music's original music. There's a remix by Saliva Commandos, and it came out yesterday.
George. Yep.
Came out yesterday. And already it charted like on Afro House chart.
Nice.
10, and George's mix 33, and then his mix is on another chart, hype chart, and Weekend Weapons chart.
Excellent.
So it's got to be algorithms, detecting all of that stuff.
It definitely does. I mean, I know George is really big on the Afro, Afro house, right?
Exactly.
And so you never know. It might work with the algorithms. Who knows? I still am mind boggled on how that whole shit works.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I remember the days of like, mixtape. You do a mix, play this DJ. What do you think? Right? And he'd be like, you know what? It's not our style, or it's fucking great, or whatever it may be. So, to have the algorithm sort of dictate almost what,
or pick out something,
or steer yours in a different direction.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That might be wrong or good, right? So it's tough, but I mean, so your label, are you steering towards in more than that, or like DJing and producing sort of on the same lines?
That's something that I always thought of being in hand in hand.
Right.
And in many ways I'm a DJ first.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it's in our blood, right?
I've done it longer than I was producing. So I'm a DJ first.
Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
It's all I do.
For sure, man.
I've been blessed to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And survive.
And I think it's exactly where it's surviving.
Yeah. Seriously.
And also, I'm always learning.
And that's another thing. Once you think you can't learn anything, it's time to quit.
Right. So you're DJing. You're like, my challenge was always, what I loved doing was blending in a 96 BPM with a 125 seamless.
Yeah.
But like nice and quick, without it sounding really like
messed up. Okay.
Right. So, but I'm always trying to finesse that. Whether it's going to be a cut and a vocal from that, or a beat,
or transition or something.
So we're always learning.
Yep.
Right. Learning the music still.
That's one thing. There's always new music, and there's always music to discover, and there's even old music to discover. I'm still learning about old music. There's other DJs that will play old stuff that will be like, what's this? I never heard this. That missed me. And they discovered it a year ago or whatever. Right. And it's like, okay, I'm on this now. So that's the beauty of playing music.
Yeah, for sure.
The day that you say that you know everything, and the day that you say,
nah, man, you're
it's
done.
Time to quit.
You're done.
Because it's never about you.
Yeah, man, for sure.
It's about the people in the room. And it's about the music, which is so much bigger
absolutely,
than us.
Man. Absolutely.
So I totally enjoy what I do. The producing, I took a break for that for 4 years. And I put out the odd thing every now and then.
Yeah, but you're getting more into it though. I noticed.
I'm coming back to it. Yeah.
Right.
Because I since 1991 to about 2017.
Yeah.
I was totally where if I wasn't working on my music, I was working on somebody's music, whether
Right.
it's mastering or mixing something,
Right.
or
A remix,
or even a remix or
Yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
Just constantly for 30 years.
Yeah.
And then I just had a burnout 4 years ago, and now I'm excited about it again.
Right.
So now it's like it's really exciting.
Love
You know?
it.
I'm back into it again.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to get the. I'm actually, I'm even looking for an alto sax because I want to get back into playing again. So I'm excited about the music.
You know what? It always happens that way when we get younger, older.
Yeah.
We're like, you're like, I got to do this.
Full circle. Yeah.
Full circle.
It's just like even the thing with vinyl. I sold a lot of my vinyl. And
Yeah,
now I'm just
same here.
buying back things.
Yeah.
I'm buying back pieces because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, I like to have these. And you know what? I wouldn't mind doing a vinyl gig. At least I'll be prepared.
Right.
So
right.
so it's always a full circle thing, man.
It is, and seeing everybody on social media, and I have a huge amount of respect for the DJs of our era
Yep.
that are out there hustling, not making money on gigs, just doing it because they love the
They're
fucking,
just back out there, yeah.
like, and I'm sure they're making a little bit of money. They have to, but
I think the money just comes anyways.
Absolutely, and it's sometimes not all about the money because
Yeah, exactly.
most of us are fortunate to have day jobs
Yeah,
to pay, right, to pay for things,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Being the car business was mine, and I know you're a car
Oh
lover.
man, yeah.
So-
Of course.
So we're
I missed my calling.
well, we're still, and I'm gonna still hit this up where I'm gonna organize a DJ night at my shop around these fucking classic cars.
Oh man, that would be
and
amazing.
we're just gonna we're gonna live feed it, and so everyone can hear it and see it.
And see what's going on.
And see what's going on, right? So we're gonna make a big production. I'm gonna work on that this year.
Nice.
That's my big plan. The House Music Festival is it's a big time consuming monster right now,
Yeah,
right? So
all by itself,
right?
yeah.
So I'm gonna do little bursts of things, pop-ups. I'm going to
Yep.
grab a handful of DJs, come to my shop. We're going to spin a fucking great classic set, in the era of the classic cars, that type of stuff, right?
Yep.
So, things like that are a lot more fun and I think more
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah, for sure.
But to go back to, what you were saying about, the DJs and a massive respect, you got guys like G Money, you got
Yes.
Mark started from scratch,
Yep.
Those guys made great money. Those guys were the DJs, right? Just like you.
Yeah.
They made a living doing this.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, exactly.
And everything just fucking hit hard. Mm-hmm. You got guys like, I have huge respect for Chico. A ton of guys, Jason Palmer, like those guys we are getting back into it. Like Henry Cartel, huge respect. That guy's amazing. That guy, double transplant that guy for.
That's what I heard.
And
But he's kicking. He's back.
Oh my god! I mean, I think it was a week and a half. He was like trying out his turntables, and then it hurt a little bit. I'm like, fuck Henry, take it easy, man.
But he'll get there.
Oh my god, I love all those guys. I have huge respect for everybody in that era,
Yeah.
and people that are involved in house music, in music in general, just DJing. I'm always I'm a big promoter of saying, hey, let's do something, or go see them, support. Like, I'm always about that, right?
Yeah.
And that's why this whole podcast is about sharing your journey, your stories of how it was back then, right? So
yeah.
not back then being how old you are.
No.
Just,
But I mean, it's amazing how things have changed a lot.
Absolutely, man.
A lot. They've changed
Absolutely.
a lot. And the beauty of it is, if you can still be out there, that's the prize.
You're still out there,
Yeah.
with zero clubs,
Yeah.
okay, that paid money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you got let's say, for instance, DJs who made a living just DJing, Rob the Boom.
Right.
DJ'd, like, just DJ. That was his job, right? So then when everything fucking stopped,
Yeah.
it's like, turned to Twitch, turned to live streaming,
Yeah.
and branded himself amazingly to do that, and hustled to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And
Right.
then it's full circle. I mean, now that things are back up again, it
Right.
works out.
It works out, right? So
For me, it was crazy. Like I said, didn't know what was going to happen.
that's great. I hate that feeling, like
Yeah.
especially when that's all you have is two turntables and a microphone, right? Like, how the fuck am I gonna make money now?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
I was lucky. I was lucky that I was able to live off of savings for like a good 18 months. And
That's tough though, man.
It's very tough because the
Now
thing
you gotta
about
double that to get back into it again,
exactly the whole thing about that is okay. How long is this gonna last?
Right.
Right. So, when things opened up last August,
Yeah.
I was actually grateful because it was like, okay, I could get back into it, whatever.
Yeah.
But the juggling of money,
Yeah, for
take
sure.
money from this, take money from that
Right.
account, take money,
Cash this in, do that, move that, just so you can fucking buy groceries. I mean,
or stay afloat.
stay afloat. I mean, I
18
hear you,
months
man.
of that. It was crazy.
It was
So
it was a wrong thing for the government to decimate the small business community that way by shutting shit down. Should never have done that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because that stopped guys and women DJing in the entertainment business, bar owners having a DJ.
Well, it really messed up an economy.
Well, for sure it did, man.
It messed up an
100%.
economy. Right?
100%.
My opinion on that was what they should have done was cut the traveling.
Right away.
Yeah.
Shut it off.
Cut the traveling.
Yeah.
Because these companies have Air Canada, they're billionaires.
Of course they're.
They can afford.
Yeah.
Number one, they're going to get a bailout anyways, right? Seriously, they're going to get the government's going to bail them out anyways.
Yeah.
They're not going to bail you or me out.
No.
They're not going to bail out Arcadia. They're not going to bail out.
They want to see us fail. Yeah, they don't give a shit.
Or they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's what I believe more than anything. So if they had cut the traveling, what would have happened was this thing they're talking about wouldn't have gone from here to there, because that's why we're in this boat. It came from here, and now it's here because people were traveling.
Yeah,
if they have shut down all of that, and just continued with whatever, right? 6 months of like no planes flying and whatever.
Yeah.
And because unfortunately what I did find out, what I did see was that when all these things were supposedly cut down, people were still traveling.
Right. And Gene, to this day, we are people who are not vaccinated cannot hop on a plane. Okay? Cannot leave our country. You are unvaccinated, you cannot leave our own country.
Wow.
Okay? We're the only country in the fucking world that has this. But you're allowed internationally, you're allowed to come to our country unvaccinated and unmasked.
How does that work?
Where's the logic behind
There's
this?
no logic behind this because right now you're punishing Canadian people.
100%.
And then at the same time, you're letting everyone come in and
100%.
bring stuff here.
Right.
And that was my that was my biggest problem. Why didn't you just shut down the airports?
Shut down the airports.
You're gonna bail out Air Canada anyways.
Yeah, they did. Which they did.
See what I mean?
Okay,
like,
which they bailed out.
It.
Yeah, for sure it is, man.
But I, from what I see, the airlines were like crying, "Oh, it's gonna kill our business." It's like, well, yeah, but there's like people, who are like suffering.
No, I totally agree, man. And it's like
that would have been that would have actually solved a lot of the problem.
It would have, and it was a partial of them not knowing how to manage it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
To, just throwing shit around, saying, let's just stop this, and no one leave their house.
Let's do this and see what happens. Like, it was so impractical.
And I'm huge on like mental health awareness.
Yeah, me too.
And I know you are too as well. And it has been a huge increase in that concern because of that. People getting divorced, suicide rate, losing their jobs, friends.
Well, I mean, even if you walk down the street or even go on social media, look at how people behave with each other now.
Right. you can see the difference.
People have lost it.
I know that because
when you drive down the 401, you see how people, you see how people drive. We were coming here and we just saw some people doing some like really fucked up things.
Yeah.
On the 401, there was a guy trying to get into a lane while I was in the lane. How do you get into a lane while somebody's in the lane?
Oh, I'm not thinking.
Physics will tell you
Yeah.
that if there's a car in the lane, you cannot move into the lane
Right.
because there's a car in the lane.
Yeah, you will hit them.
Physics, yes. And yeah, people are running around, like with like chickens with their heads cut off kind of thing, and like you said, it's the whole mental aspect
Right.
of shutting down. They went about it wrong, and I'll say this: it's karma, because a lot of the governments, a lot of the provincial governments, cut on healthcare, and then this happens. Like that's karma. That's karma.
Yeah,
Quebec,
for
it was
sure.
the same thing. They cut on healthcare.
Yeah.
We know in Ontario.
But dude, fucking Montreal, really, they fucking made people come home at 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah, the curfew. You know what? The funny thing about the curfew, I hated the curfew. It didn't affect me because it's not like I go out after 10. I'm at home.
Right.
I'm working on my music. I'm doing my streams.
Right.
I come and see our arcade on the weekends, and I leave at 5 in the morning when the curfew's off,
Right.
and then I come back
But
before
you're
10.
sneaking out of the fucking province to come in.
Well, I'm not thinking about that, but generally that's what's happening.
Right?
But,
It's like we're in a communist country trying to leave.
But I'll tell you one thing though. It's so practical because what happens is everyone's going about doing the business from 5 to 10 at night. And then from 10 to 5 in the morning, when people usually would be running around doing whatever,
Right.
everyone's staying put and not spreading stuff around. So now you have like a good, never mind the math, but like a good X amount of hours, 10
Right.
hours, whatever it is, of things not happening. So when they first did it, it actually worked. It worked out. And there was a significant change because what they did was they limited activity
Right.
at a certain time, but people
Right.
were still allowed to do their things in the day. They're still allowed to go to work. They're still allowed to go shopping. They're still allowed to hang out actually during the day. But then after 10, after 8, right? Okay,
Yeah.
let's because I'm still like that too, right? I don't like going into a packed place. Not right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like there's still something there.
Right.
So it actually worked. The way they did that, it actually worked. The second time they shouldn't have done it because it didn't make any sense.
It didn't make it. No.
It made absolutely no sense.
No.
But
They should have stopped at the first one.
yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Well, the second time it didn't. It was only 2 weeks. When they shut down in December, it was 2 weeks because they realized, okay, this doesn't work. It worked last time because there were so many cases and people were actually dying and stuff like that and
Right.
whatever, and it was just everywhere, right? And 8 months of a curfew
Right.
actually helped because we were actually in better shape than even Ontario at some point. So I actually see the logic behind it because when it first happened, I was like as if it picks a time to come out and spread.
Yeah,
But that's not the idea. The idea is we're giving you X amount of hours to like just chill out and not spread stuff around.
Yeah. Be home. Stay home.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Okay, clubs are not open. Fine. There it is again. Or you don't need to go to this person's house or whatever. Just chill, stay home, watch Netflix, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And apparently the numbers did actually, and the rate of transmission went down. Another thing is schools, opening of schools. I'm sorry, but a lot of it is coming from the schools.
Definitely the children.
Yeah, because they can't get vaccinated, right?
They can't get vaccinated, but they're also like they're hacking and coughing and sneezing on their hands.
Well,
and
they're kids,
they're kids, right?
So-
And they're sharing their foods and they're talking to their buddies and they're touching each other. I get it,
So that's what it is.
absolutely. But it also that's how it always was back then, right?
For sure.
So
Oh yeah.
no, don't get me wrong. This whole thing is definitely.
Well, it's different. It's different.
It is a different
It's
beast.
a different animal. Yeah.
Okay,
altogether,
I get
yeah.
that.
And
Different
they're
animal.
figuring it out.
Yeah, of course we are. I just think that our government basically didn't handle the I guess the direction, let's say, of what we should shut down, what we should hold off a little bit.
I agree.
I think that our and I'm not going to say online because I'm sure whatever, but that whole Canada, we should have contained ourselves. We are one of the beautifulest country in the world, okay? For economic, for beauty, for business economic, for people.
Yep.
Our provinces were all managed amazingly.
Yep.
This buffoon comes into a parliament, and all of a sudden it's like there's no democracy, there's no freedom. It's full control, but have no idea how to run it. So
Yeah.
they should have just contained our country when it first started. Stop letting the planes come in.
Yeah, for sure.
Stop letting them come in.
Yeah.
And then let's deal with what we have here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's figure it out here.
Well, that's what they did in China, right? They were in better condition.
I listen.
It's crazy.
It is nuts. I know we can. I don't like bringing politics into our conversation and podcast, but I mean we do share similar feelings towards it, and I get it.
Yeah.
But for you, man, I'm just I want to know what your plans are the next 5 years. What are you going to do in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years?
Yeah, next 5 years. What's your plans in the next 5 years?
You know what? I'm not even thinking about it, to be honest with you.
No, okay.
I can't think about it. Why? Because the last 2 years have shown me that planning something for the next couple of years, it just doesn't work because things happen. The only thing I'm going to do is keep doing what I'm doing and maintain
Okay.
myself. That's it. That's all I can do.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah, that's the only
listen,
because
maybe that was a harsh question to ask because some people.
No. It's a good question because the thing about it is we really can't predict what's going to happen. We didn't,
especially what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know.
We can't. We really can't. All my life, I've made plans, and you know what has happened? They've never come to fruition.
And you either set yourself up for failure, or you I'm not fucking playing this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
my whole thing is I'm gonna keep doing what I do. I'm just gonna keep, what's the word? Like pushing the envelope kind of thing. When this happened, me and Arcadia, we started thinking, let's focus on the merchandising. Because we have things that are in the works. Yeah, the clothing, the stuff like that. That's probably what my next thing will be. As maybe if I stop DJing or whatever, it might actually be clothing manufacturing, right? Because
that jacket.
This is you know what I do like. I don't dress flashy or anything like that. He says with Keith Haring all that, but I don't dress flashy or anything like that.
I love it though.
But I like nice things, right?
Yeah.
I like nice looking things.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Even if I'm really casual and I'm wearing something that blends in with the crowd, if you look closely, it's like nice things.
Yeah.
It's like nice things. I like my 45 adapter. And,
for sure.
I like my nice little things, right? So we were just talking about we could just go into the merchandising, man. Maybe the music and the DJing will be a plus, but the merchandising is what's gonna
pay the bills and have
save
some fun.
us and whatever. Because I really don't like working for anyone.
Yeah.
I never liked working for anybody, whether it's the government
Yeah.
or whether it's rich dude down the street that has a factory or whatever, or you know what I mean.
For sure,
I don't like. I've always been self-employed and
work for Arcadia.
Yeah, I'll work for Arcadia, no problem. If I'm working for Arcadia, I'm working for me.
No, of course, man. I get it. Everyone has a certain way of dealing with business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the music business, it is to me, I think it's more entrepreneurial to be solo as a business person when you're into music or DJing, because
sure.
you control the day, the night. You
You
control
actually control your destiny, for sure.
I was going to say you control your destiny of what's going to happen. Okay, and I think it's more of like, because you are self-promoting, you are hustling, you are networking, you're buying product, you're buying equipment, you're doing this, you're making it work. You work for somebody else in that industry. You're not gonna. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna go anywhere.
Exactly.
Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every DJ that's out there that has branded themselves, such as yourself, in the house music community, it's because they did it on your own.
Yeah. My whole thing is, it's always been that.
Right.
When I started Shines, it was all. I mean, I had not necessarily a partner, but somebody who was like helping with it, and they were opening their own subsidiary kind of thing. But it was always I always micromanaged it.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I realize that yes, to an extent you can do it all by yourself, but everybody needs help.
Everybody needs help. As we get older, we don't remember things that
exactly.
Like you're trying to you have this list in your head.
Well, it's also, you know what? It's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you.
Sure it does.
I mean, it's like for certain things, if it's like, okay, well, I need to post stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Arcadia's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure, man.
she'll jump on it.
Yeah.
Right? Or she'll remind me, oh, you have to be at this club.
Yeah.
On this date. Or, oh, you can't take that gig. You can't take that
you're doing
gig
one
because
already.
you're doing this one. Right? And it's important because I don't remember that stuff.
No,
It's
know.
a lot of energy because at the same time I'm focusing on, okay, do I have enough money to hire Saliva Commandos to do a mix for something?
Right.
Or someone like Doug Gomez to do a mix for something?
Yeah.
Or did I fill out, and that takes a long time, did I fill out the metadata sheet for this music? Because it's a lot of information,
true, man.
right?
Absolutely.
And if it goes out there and it does well, that's it. You're not doing anything. Or publishing. That's my big thing. Nobody knows this, but I have a publishing company, and that is a lifesaver for me in the music industry. If I license something to a film or anything like that, it's registered. Everything that I do is registered. So these are like all the little things, but as I'm older now, it's like somebody has to remind me or tell me, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that.
Awesome.
You need to dress better than you need to dress better. You need to dress better. When you're going to Dave's house and he's putting you on camera, you need to look interesting kind of. No, but she'll see these things.
Yeah.
Right, and then I can focus on playing the music.
Right.
I can focus on. Yeah. She comes to me with the gigs sometimes,
Yeah.
and she takes the requests.
Yeah.
And man.
Sure,
she's
man.
my eyes. She'll be like, yeah, those people are yawning over there. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
I'll change the music.
Right. It's true.
Those
man.
people want to hear Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Okay, I got Billy Idol.
Right.
But there comes a point in your life when you can't do everything yourself. And I've done a lot by myself the last 30 years. Like it's cool. It's cool to have people, your crew, your team.
Yeah. Love it, man. It's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Big up to Mr. Jackman Jones, man.
Yes, man. He's you know what?
He's part of the crew, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's supportive.
He's huge supporter of you, of us.
Of what we're doing.
Of what we're doing, the house music side of things, and I am a big fan of him. I think he's doing great.
Yes.
Again, I mean, like, there's so many people out there that you want to say big up to, like Melanie Sutherland.
Another supporter.
Huge supporter. I just think that we're at that point, like you said, full circle.
Yeah.
Now it's time to make it happen. If you're thinking about it, just do it because you never know, man. There could be a pandemic tomorrow. Absolutely. Well, you're right. So, and Ty, I mean, and Jack, man, he's been doing great. I mean, he's pretty creative, and he's a big advocate of what we do, and I'm all for it. Loves you guys. You guys. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the music is going to come back. The creative side is going to come back
all the time. Yeah.
Okay, not just remixing is awesome. I love it. Okay, I love the remixing side of it. I think being creative in a genuine way, creating your own track.
Yep.
That is what we need more of for our younger generation below us to still understand that our music is the roots of what's happened. Like today's music,
it borrows from yesterday at best.
Right, at best.
At best.
Okay, so I'm not into it. There is a ton of house music, subgenres of subgenres of subgenres of subgenres. Okay, and when I had Jesse Saunders on as my guest before, we talked about a lot about that, and people just want to hear great music, okay? But they're like, oh, you're a producer for what? Oh, I'm a producer for acid jazz, disco house, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
well, I know, you know what? Even as a DJ, I don't pay attention to those things because I don't want to limit. If I'm playing house music, I'm playing house music. Right. Already, I'm limiting myself. If I'm playing house music.
Right, it's true.
So why am I going to limit myself to one subgenre?
Right.
So when people say like I know what your style is, it's like, well, you really don't, because I can play anything really.
Right.
1 minute, I'll be blowing off the roof, playing some real stuff that might hurt your ears, and then the next minute I'm playing something really like soft and mellow kind of thing. But
from chill to whatever,
But as long as it flows well, that's it. And maybe because I'm older, I was taught to play everything. Right. From rock to calypso. Right. I was taught how to play everything.
Absolutely.
So it's the same thing with the subgenres. Yeah. I never pay attention to them. When I go to places like Track Source, I look in the Jack in House section. Yeah. I look in the Afro section. Right. I buy the same way. What sounds good.
Right. What sounds good.
That's what it's about.
Bottom line, man. Man, this is awesome, man. I mean, we could talk for hours. I mean, I really, I appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming to the studio, both of you guys coming down and just, shoot the shit and just.
Thanks for having me.
And just talking about you. That's what the main thing. And I think we covered pretty much a lot of from the little Gene to the big Gene and what he is now,
to the old guy,
to the old guy, and honestly, we're gonna see more of you, in the lounges, the bars,
Yeah, you know what? I'm excited again.
Yeah.
Honestly, and the pandemic has made it even more. I'm excited again about what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure.
From the making of music to playing out. Right. I'm excited.
Now, are you looking for anybody to, like, any DJs to sign into your label, or are you just creating stuff just for you?
Well, for the time being, I'm actually going to mention this.
Okay.
I licensed some tracks from G Money a couple of years ago, and I released it, and I didn't have any results, but that was basically I wasn't focusing on the label.
Okay.
And I was going through the old catalog. I've discontinued a lot of stuff.
Right.
There's like a handful of tracks on the label.
Yeah.
And I've just weeded out and discontinued a lot of stuff and kept the things that I like to present. This is Shines Records.
Right. Sure.
And most of the stuff is kind of like Nick Holder. Most of the stuff on the label is me.
Okay.
Right. But if there's something that I like, send it my way. If I like it, I like it. Maybe there's something that we can do with it.
Right.
Getting back to G Money, I'm gonna be re-releasing that single with a remix from myself.
Awesome.
In June, so look out for it. Cartel's theme.
That's awesome. We're gonna put the links out.
Yeah.
I'll put it up on the podcast.
Definitely.
For sure. Where could they reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
They can reach me on Facebook, the Gene King page. There's the Gene King artist page on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's probably the best
way to get you.
The easiest way to reach me, yeah.
So if I just pull your phone number at the end of the show, no, I'm just kidding.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
I would do it.
I don't even answer my phone. No, but yeah, you could reach me on the Gene King page.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, easily. I'm on. You know, we got the phones and everything. You
For
can
sure,
reach
man.
me anytime there. Yeah.
For sure, man. Gene, I really appreciate you coming to the studio, man.
Dave, thanks for having me, man.
Loving it. Arcadia, thank you so much. Smile. You're happy. Tired? You don't have. This is like you wake up at this time, don't you?
No, I just have a little dog.
Oh, for the dog?
I love dogs. Like,
Oh, this dog is hyperallergenic. It doesn't.
my eyes.
Oh, is it? Maybe I fed you too much Wayne Gretzky. I fed you too much alcohol. Is what it
Okay,
is.
do you want to go outside for a bit?
No, don't let you go get off. Let me finish the dog.
What's that? Okay.
You know what? I have tons of liquids here, waters, whatever you need for that. So, guys, thank you so much, Gene.
Oh, you're welcome.
Always a pleasure, and we will definitely get you back on the show again.
Sounds good.
You know, and
Sounds
when you are in the next 3 years, where I think you're going to be planning on something in my head, I'm going to bring you back to the studio, and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what you've been doing, and I can't wait to have all these follow up. So. I
Sounds
appreciate
good.
it, man.
It's a
I
deal.
appreciate it.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
Man. All the best to you guys.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Most def.